Good morning. Welcome to Member Focus Monday. My name is Christina Schaefer. I'm HR Social Media Manager, and I'm joined this morning by Arianna from Remine. Arianna, if you want to introduce yourself.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Arianna Pareja. I am the Director of Broker Relations here over at Remine. Remine is a new, fairly new member benefit that all of you who are listening into today have access to. And so Christina and I are going to go through the deep dive of what Remine is and what it can do for you.
Awesome. So let's just start with just some basic. So who is Remine and what are you guys doing right now in the technology space?
Yeah, so great question to start off with. So we are not just another real estate tech company. Remine is created by realtors for realtors. Everyone on our entire founding team has a real estate license, has practiced real estate, and has actually ran a successful team. So prior to coming upon this idea of creating Remine, it was really just that day-to-day frustration of how to get better access to public record data, how to be able to find some lead generation opportunities, how to target your audience better, how to find ways to find prospects that are a little bit non-conventional. So Remine was like I said, based off of frustration. I was at the Leo Pareja team prior to Remine, and over at the Leo Pareja team, we at any given time had about 200 to 250 live active listings on the market. But the way that we did that was a long, painstakingly process where we literally had somebody, Christina, once a week go down to the courthouse. We were servicing 7 different counties at that time. And so literally we had one person whose sole job was to go to the courthouse and pull public record data. And then once they would gather that public record data, they'd bring it back to the office, and then we'd have an analyst that would take all that public record data, put it into Excel spreadsheets. We'd figure out by target neighborhoods exactly how much equity was in each property. And it was literally like, it was an assembly line. And then once we had all of that information, what we did was we created an estimated guess on what that home equity was based off of what was recorded on the note, right? So we took the rate and product type, we created an amortization schedule, and then we were then able to say, okay, these 30 homes in this specific subdivision have at least 150K home equity. And their year built was before 1960, and their ownership time was, at least 10 years. So we would take all that data, aggregate it, and then have door knockers go knock on those doors, and then, be able to find some teardown opportunities to bring to some of our multi-transactional clients and wholesalers, some of the investors that we were working with. And that's how the whole entire business scaled. And so our now COO, Jonathan Spinetto, he had this idea of, well, what if we could just get all of this public record data for the whole entire country? What would that be like? And that's where Remine was really born. And that was the initial idea. So this was November of 2015. Short while afterwards, by January of 2016, we had already signed our first couple MLS contracts. And so Leo, Jonathan, and Mark, who's our CFO, they went on planes, trains, and automobiles all across the country, and they presented our first prototype of what Remine is today. And every single MLS board was like, absolutely, this makes sense. Let's integrate, because finally there is a real estate tech company that, one, was created by realtors. So we really understand the product, right? We really understand the need. And then secondly, it was like, okay, not only do they understand us, but they're actually spending all types of investing, money on this type of data to yet then bring it back to the real estate agent, right? Because if you think about all the different companies out there that are spending millions of dollars a month on data, they are not friends of the industry. We have a lot of heat in the industry right now. If you think about all the different consumer portals, you think of Open Doors, you think of Redfin, these companies are not, they're not friends of the realtor, right? They're trying to compete and go against, because they see that there's this huge opportunity in the real estate space that has been very untapped up until this point. And so, when this idea of Remine came about, it was like, yeah, this makes sense. Our whole entire mission, our goal is to provide an easy map-based view for agents to use to save them time, save them energy, give them, a couple minutes back in their day to really be able to spend time with their loved ones, because they saved 20 minutes of not going across town to drive to a listing that didn't have equity, right? So now if you log into Remine, you can literally just open it up. You can pop it in any address or name, and you can see all the property record details, right? And you can see the information on that home. You can see the transactional history. You can see the mortgage information. You can see who was on title back 20 years. We go back to the early 90s on that. So this is all data that's like at our fingertips, which before would take painstaking hours to get to. And so that's the idea behind this. And then, of course, we've got the predictive analytics, sell scores and buy scores in there as well. So as an agent, I can see, okay, who's most likely going to sell soon? What's their high, medium, or low sell score? What's their buy score? So we have all sorts of information that agents now have access to. And we are tracking about 191 million parcels in the United States. And of these 100, a lot, right? It's a lot of stuff to track. But for each residential parcel, we're tracking about 400 data points. And for each data point, we're tracking, their consumer files. We're tracking the public record data. So we're putting all this information all into one source, easy to use for the agents to just have at their fingertips.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So you mentioned, some companies in the real estate industry that are making waves in technology as far as real estate's concerned. What do you see as far as technology tools and how they're changing? What do you see in the near future for realtors?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot has changed. Even in the past 3-4 years, things are changing at a rapid pace. Mm-hmm. But what I'm starting to see is that, once upon a time, to be that neighborhood dominant realtor, top producer, it was like, okay, you had to have your face on every single bus bench. You had to be in every single local newspaper. You had to be at every single grocery market, ad. But now it's like the game's changing so much. It's really like, who has the most data? Who has access to the best data? Data is the new currency. If you are not using data to find your prospects, you're not going to have prospects for the next 5 years. And I'm not saying that to be scary. I'm saying it because it's the truth. If you think about how much consumer behavior has changed over the last just 5 years, it's insane. We're having this huge shift that was as big from, radio to TV, from TV to YouTube, right? Christina, last purchase you made, how did you make that decision? Did you look up reviews online?
Of course.
Did you get an ad in your Instagram? Did you get an ad in your Facebook? They swipe up and you're like, okay, yeah, maybe I will buy those eyelashes. That's how they get me. But, and I'll use myself as an example. Prior to having children, I used to get ads on my Instagram and Facebook that would say 50% off flights to Vegas, 25% off shoes at Macy's. And within moments of posting my photo, my sonogram photo on Facebook, I started getting ads for prenatal vitamins. Mm-hmm. And then, guess what? I'm 8 months pregnant. I'm waddling around town. My belly's huge. I look down at my phone and it's like, swipe up for stretch mark cream, right? And I mean, I bought the stretch mark cream. It was a no-brainer for me. And so those companies, they were marketing to me, right? Because they knew where I was in my buyer journey, right? They knew where I was. They had data. They had consumer files on me. They understood what was going on in my life. And that's what kind of Remine's doing for the first time in the real estate space is, we're bringing information to realtors to be able to figure out when you should send that message, when you should go knock on that door, when you should send a gift basket. So it makes sense in that person's journey, right? In their home selling journey, their buyer journey.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'd like us to do, I see we do have some members asking questions. We see your questions and we'll definitely get to them. But I'd like Arianna to do just like a little quick demo of Remine, just so we can see what it looks like. And again, as she mentioned at the beginning, all HAR members do already have free access to this free account with Remine. You access it in your member portal. If you just go to your quick search and type in Remine, you'll be able to pull it up. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up Remine, and I'm going to minimize myself. So you'll just see Remine and Arianna for a little bit. So I'll go ahead and do that now.
Okay, so for all of you that are watching, you can see on the screen there's all those little blue dots that we were talking about earlier, those parcels. So those are all the different parcels that you can see on your screen. So everything that you see on your screen is basically your field of vision. That's what you're searching. Now, if Christina goes to the top left-hand corner and she types in an address, you can type in an address and that record's going to pop up. And you'll be able to see information on that property. So she's going to go ahead and click onto that property. And then she's going to go ahead and click onto the address. And now that's taken her to the property details page. So as you all just noticed on that map, there was the property record. You can see live active listings as well. So what we've done is we put together property record and active listings all in one easy to view map. Now, if she scrolls down there, go ahead, Christina, and scroll down. Yep, there we go. So we see the all the public record information. We see the property sell score is low for this particular property. If we scroll down a little bit more, we can see all the tax information. And so this is basically just a property records page, but now we brought in more information such as the net equity, the mortgage balance. If you scroll down a little bit more, Christina. Yep, so we see the net equity, we see the estimated value, the estimated loan balance, we see the HOA information, we see the flood information. So we have an open API with FEMA, meaning that as FEMA updates their map numbers, you guys have that data in real time. We also see that active second mortgage as well. We see the school districts that this property belongs to. So, before we'd have to go to greatschools.org or some other external website to find that data. Now you don't have to do that. It's all in your property records page. And so if we scroll down a little bit more, now we see the valuation. So here we have an average valuation for this particular property. It's $441,324. Now we have First American as an AVM. Now, the reason why we partnered with First American is because we are a nationwide platform and First American does the most refis by volume in the country. Then we have the AVM for Zillow, the automated valuation model from Zillow as well. And I know what some of you agents might be thinking, why? Why is that there? Why is this estimate there? Well, there's a good reason why it's there. Because I guarantee that most of the time when you're getting ready for a listing presentation, 9 times out of 10, that homeowner is looking at the Zillow's estimate. So now you as an agent can save time without having to go to yet again another website. You have that Zillow's estimate there as well. And then for a third, we have an e-appraisal. And then if you scroll back up a little bit, Christina, you'll see where it says add valuation. So now you as agents can put in your valuation into this as well. So you'll be able to put in what your thought of that price, of the property is, and then you'll be able to see who has put that in. You'll see the agent profile attached with what their opinion of what that price should be. We scroll back down, Christina, we can see the demographics. So this is basically, census data on a zip +4 resolution, meaning this is the information on that zip code +4. So it's more granular. It's not saying this is the census data on the whole entire zip code. It is, it could be the floor of a condo building or 10 single family homes. You see the own versus residence. You see the average net worth, average income, average household age. If we scroll down there, Christina, we could also see by contacts. So you can see the property history information as well, the mortgage information underneath that. And so every time someone's done a refinance, you see the rate, you see the type, and then you see associated people with the property. Now, you can purchase at any time contact information for any property. Now you'll get that on a household basis and you'll get everyone who's associated with that property. Now, sometimes the people associated with the property could be adult children that live in the home, or it could be a tenant. So like in this particular property, we see McCall Gelman and Ara Gelman. They are both owners of the property. And then you see Arthur Chandler. This could be an adult child, or this could be someone that gets their mail sent to the home, or they could be a current tenant or past tenant. And then if we were on on one of our success plans, you'd be able to unlock this and you'd be able to see what that tenant's buy score is. So we have buy scores of high, medium, low, similar to the sell score. And so you can see the sell score on the owners of the property. And then if there's tenants in the property, you'll be able to see their sell scores as well. And you're going to get the LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, mobile phone number associated with that that account, and you'll be able to unlock that. And if it's on the do not call list, it will be labeled. Now, if the property is in an LLC or in a trust, you will then also be able to contact that owner of the trust through the associated people with the property if that's listed there. And if you're on our pro plan, you'll be able to unlock all of those contacts. It's included, all contact information is included. If we go back to the Discover map, Christina, I can talk a little bit about kind of what's included and what are some of the premium features in Remine. So covered in your MLS dues, you can track up to 100 properties or people, right? Anything after 100 is behind a paywall. But for the first 100, you could track, and it's included. Now, what that means when you're tracking a property is that you'll get notifications on any of those people or properties that you're tracking. And some of those notifications, and the notifications is in my opinion, the most interesting part, because if you're getting notifications on those people, then you'll know what to say, when to say. So the types of notifications you're going to get is, if someone pays off their property, if someone pays off their mortgage, or there's a refinance, or pulls out a second, if the MLS status changes, if there's sales score changes, if their absentee status changes, you'll get those notifications. So on the left-hand corner of the toolbar there, you'll see all these different filters, and some of these filters are included and some of them are premium. So if they are not included, I'll just say premium. That way you guys know it's behind a paywall. So if I go ahead and I click on, let's go ahead and click on ownership time. We know that most statistically speaking, most people move every 7 to 12 years. So if you put in a minimum 7, Christina, and a maximum 12, we can now get to see some interesting information. So we apply that filter, that gives us 49 results. So we see 49 properties that have ownership time of 7 to 12 years. Well, traditionally speaking, we would just take that ownership time and we would just say, okay, let's send a mailer to all these people. But let's get more granular. Let's put in one of our premium filters on top. Christina, if you could put the absentee filter, which is at the bottom of that left-hand side, and put in owner occupant, because we don't want to send a mailer, a seller campaign mailer, to a bunch of properties that doesn't have that ownership of owner occupant. See, I don't think you have that there. Anyways, we'll be able to put in, we could search by owner occupant, and we could also search by home equity. So that's where it gets really interesting, because then you'll be able to see, not only am I sending a mailer to all the different properties that have ownership time of 7 to 12 years, but they also are owner occupant and have the equity to do that. If we go ahead and click on sell score, Christina, it's that S with the little circle around it. Down one, go ahead, scroll down a little bit. And there's sell score, yep. So here we have the sell score. Now, again, I would not recommend using the sell score on its own. And the reason being is because the sell score is an educated guess. It is an algorithm that is created based upon public record data and a little bit of consumer file trends and data for that specific area. But it is, again, it's very helpful. So if I go ahead and I mark on, high and medium sell score, if you want to go and tag high and medium. And if you could just zoom out, Christina, because right now it looks like you're pretty zoomed in. Yeah, there we go. You zoom out. Yep, perfect. And then zoom back in a little bit until it says, yep, that should be good. So now we have 10 results. Now we have 10 results of the property has a higher medium sell score and ownership time. As I mentioned before, I would always say use this in combination with our home equity filter as well, because the predictive algorithm sell score, and I'm going to use an example. Let's say, for example, you're a 28-year-old female. We'll just say I'm 28. I'm not, but we'll just say that for the sake of this example. Let's say I'm a 28-year-old female, and I've legally been married for 2 years. That's public record data. The fact that I'm 28 years old is public record data. I live in a 1-bedroom condo. That's public record data. So my predictive algorithm cell score may be saying, based on the trends in that area and my age and my demographic, that I will most likely be moving into a larger home, right? I'll be moving out of my 1 bedroom into a larger space. However, what the predictive algorithm cannot account for is maybe the fact that I can't bear children, or maybe for the fact that I love living in my downtown location. And even if I live in a 1-bedroom condo, and even if I have an infant, I don't care. I'm not going to move. My husband and I will just figure it out. Or perhaps maybe I am a military family, and every single 3 years, my husband and I, we move. Every 3 years we move. And now the predictive algorithm cell score is saying that based on the trends of my, moving every 3 years, I am a couple months away from that 3-year mark. So the cell score may be saying I'm very high, most likely to move. However, again, the predictive algorithm cell score cannot account for perhaps, maybe my husband who's in the military got promoted and we're staying put in this particular town, or maybe, he retired and now I'm the breadwinner and we're not gonna move. So the predictive algorithm cell score, it is great. It is especially useful, especially if you are going door knocking, or if you're trying to find a property in a low inventory area. Maybe you're looking for a tear down opportunity for one of your clients that really wants to be in a specific school district. I would use that cell score, but I always suggest that you use that cell score in combination with our ownership time filter, and maybe our home equity premium filter as well, just to get more accurate, narrow results, because there's things that the algorithm cannot account for inside of our daily lives. So just keep that in mind, but it is a great tool nonetheless. If we go ahead and scroll down, we can see mortgage rate as well. If you click on mortgage rate, Christina, which is that little percentage sign on the left-hand side. So this is, we're filtering out all of the homes that have the interest rate, maybe perhaps I work with a lender and maybe I want to team up with them to do some long incubation leads of going after and mailing properties that have a high interest rate, and we do a joint mailing campaign. I'm able to see that, and my loan officer can then send out a postcard. We also have another filter called the Absentee Filter. It is a premium filter, but you're able to filter out all of the properties by absentee in-state and absentee out-of-state, which would then mean I can send a mailer to everybody who's absentee, which most likely they would be a tenant in that property. And I can send a mailer to them with my loan officer that says, for the amount of money you're spending in this neighborhood, you could be renting. Here's my information. Here's my loan officer's information. Call this 1-800 number and let's get you pre-approved today. That's another great way you can team up with a lender to use Remine aside from the mortgage rate filter. So that's called the absentee filter. If we scroll down, Christine, on the left-hand side, and if you could just hover over the distressed deals property filter. So that filter is available on the Pro plan. You're able to see list pendings, notice of default, notice of foreclosure. So we all know as agents that we're probably about 2 years away from another market correction. This filter is going to be extremely helpful over the next 12 to 18 months. And then again, this filter right here, which is called the absentee filter, the one that's above the distressed filter, that is a perfect filter for whether you're trying to find buyer leads or listing leads. So if you're doing a traditional seller campaign, I would do a owner occupant filter along with ownership time of 7 to 12 years and maybe a home equity of at least 50 or 100K, depending on what area you're looking in. And that list, I would take it and then I would track it. And you're able to also see flood zone. So if you put your cursor above on the flood zone, so that flood zone will light up on the map. If you're on one of our premium subscriptions, you're able to see all of the different properties that have a high risk flood zone, meaning that property would pay a higher hazard insurance rate, which is extremely important, especially when you're working with investors. Christina, if you want to go ahead and click on the track page. So it's at the top right. Yep. Perfect. So the track is where you'll be tracking all the different properties, right? So you can then export all of your information. You can take all of the properties that you're tracking. You can download that CSV file. You can upload it into your CRM. You can also upload your sphere of influence. So if you are an agent and you have a CSV file of all of your clients, you can upload that into our system and you'll be able to track those people. And by tracking them again, you'll be able to see all those notifications. You can also do direct mailing print-offs from this page. So if Christina had been tracking any properties right here, she could click select all, and then she could print Avery Hess labels directly from here. If we go ahead and click onto engage, Christina, I want to talk about the notifications because this is where it's really exciting. So Christina's not tracking any properties at this moment, but had she been tracking some properties, all of the different notifications would pop up in this section. And so I always tell agents, 100 tracks is included with your MLS benefit, right? So at minimum, you should be tracking your 100 people. But if you've been in the industry for more than a couple of years and you've done quite a bit of deals and you have a little bit of more of a network, you will easily get over that 100 because one, you should be tracking all of your friends and family, all of your past clients, all of your, anyone you do any business with. And then you should be tracking your neighborhood, right? Because that's low-hanging fruit. If I live in a specific, let's just say I live in the Woodlands, right? And I'm tracking my neighborhood of the Woodlands, and there is a neighbor and I'm tracking them and they pay off their mortgage. Well, if they've paid off their mortgage, that means they have a ton of equity, which means there's a good prospect that I can then invite to my next barbecue and I can touch base with them. So you should be tracking all of your past clients. You should be tracking everyone in your primary residence, your neighborhood, because it's easy for you to strike a conversation up with those people. And then you should be playing off all of your existing listings. So anywhere where you've had a successful listing, you should track that entire neighborhood. And easily, we all know most neighborhoods have anywhere between 500 to 1,000 homes per neighborhood, and you should be playing off that listing. So for example, let's say I had a listing in the Woodlands and it was short days on market. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna track everything within a 1 mile radius inside of the Woodlands, especially those properties that have a specific similar floor plan, right? I'm gonna track all of those people. And if any of those homeowners pay off their mortgage or their title transfers or they become absentee status, I'm going to reach out right away, right? So let's say, for example, I'm tracking all of the homes in the Woodlands and I have an upcoming open house, right? What I would do is I would search into Remine. I'd go to that Discover map and I would look for every single property in the Woodlands that has no mortgage and that has, the bedroom bathroom count that's similar to my open house. And I would invite those people to my open house because they paid off their mortgage, meaning they have equity, meaning they may be curious and may want to come to your open house to see, what could their house sell for, right? So this is the notification section. This is really your prospecting portion of Remine. When you come into the office on a Monday morning, you're trying to figure out, okay, who do I need to get in front of? Who do I need to call? Go based off of your notifications. And it is a numbers game. The more properties you're tracking, the more notifications you're going to get. The more notifications you're going to get, the more reasons you're going to have to call on to those prospects. So let's say, for example, you're tracking everyone from your sphere of influence and you're tracking your neighborhood and you're tracking every single neighborhood where you've had a successful listing. So sell score. If the sell score on a property changes, and you'll get that notification in real time. So you're tracking a bunch of properties, the sell scores change from low to high. Now's the time to send them a mailer. Now's the time to go knock on their door and invite them to your next open house. MLS status. Let's say, for example, you've been taking your neighbor out for coffee once a quarter for the last 2 years. And your neighbor's like, yeah, when I'm ready to sell, I'm going to call you. I'll keep you in mind. But you're tracking her property. Now, if you're tracking her property and she decides to list her house with your competitor, you'll get a notification. And you will know in real time that she's listed her property, not with you. Now, what you do with that information is up to you. Me personally, I'd probably stop inviting her to the barbecue. I would, shift my attention elsewhere. Or I would use it as a moment to reach out and say, hey, what could I do in the future to gain your business? Mortgage information. Again, if a homeowner pays off their mortgage, if they do a refinance, you get a notification. So if I'm tracking a neighborhood, short days on market, where I had a recent listing, I see 3 homeowners paid off their mortgage, I'm going to send them a handwritten letter that says, hey, by the way, I just sold this house. It was only 25 days on market. It sold at this listing price, et cetera, et cetera. This is my information. This is my stats. Please give me a call. I'd love to, walk through and give you a home valuation estimate. And then we've got the deed information. So let's say, for example, you're tracking one of your past clients, right? And the title changes from Mr. Smith to Mr. Smith Jr. Well, you'll get a notification that the title changes, and then you can get that notification. You can call Mr. Smith Jr. and you can say, hey, Mr. Smith Jr., I actually sold this property to your father 10 years ago. My condolences. I apologize for the death in your family. Now that you've inherited this new home, should you want to put it back onto the market, please call me. I'd love to service your family once again. And then we've got the absentee status. Let's say you're tracking a property in the Woodlands and the homeowner decides to go absentee and rent out their place. Well, what I would do is if I was practicing, I'd reach out to that homeowner once a month, every month, around the first of the month. And sooner or later, I'd have that same message of, how's it dealing with working with tenants from another state, right? Because they're absentee out of state and now they're renting this place out. I reach out, and sooner or later, those tenants aren't going to make their rent on time. And sooner or later, you're going to catch that homeowner that says, you know what? Dealing with tenants is a pain, and I would like to list my property on the market. So keeping in touch with those people, having those touch points. And then, of course, square footage. If somebody pulls a permit from the courthouse to add a 300 square foot addition to their home, they could be getting ready to sell. They could not. Either way, you get a notification about it, then you can reach out. And then the distressed deal property filter that's available on the Pro Plan. If you're tracking a property and all of a sudden it becomes into a distressed state, as a list pending, notice of default, notice of foreclosure, and you're tracking it, you will get that notification. You'll be the first ones to find out about it. So again, this notification section, think about this as what I was talking about, where data is the new currency, meaning use this data to figure out your message to your client, so you are getting in front of the right person at the right place at the right time. Now, I know this was a really quick overview, but for those of you that are watching and have a lot more questions, because there's so much more to this that you can find out, please email demo, DEMO, at Remine, at REMINE.com, and we'd be more than happy to walk you through a one-on-one personalized version of this demo so that we can walk you through and explain exactly how to pull those filters. We're going to talk to you and ask you different questions about maybe if you specifically work in a specific area, or if you're a predominantly buyer's agent, we'll tailor that one-on-one demo for you so that you can get the best out of this and you can really understand how to start utilizing this and coming up with the correct message at the right place at the right time.
Awesome. Thank you so much for showing us that. Let me just get back to, so just to follow up on a couple things, a couple questions, just curious, the quality of the contact data. And I know some of our members were actually asking that, looking at their own homes and things like that. What's the quality of the data and stuff that we have in there?
So the quality of the contact data is a great question. We do have law enforcement grade data. It's not going to be 100%. And the reason why is because 30 million phone numbers get disconnected and reconnected every single month. That is why if you were to purchase any contact data, and remember it's $3 per household level, just let us know. Click the chat box, which is located on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Let us know and we will immediately refund your account. We have a total Nordstrom policy when it comes to that. There is going to be times where the phone number is incorrect, and that's, again, it's just out of our control, because so many people just disconnect their numbers every month.
Right. So how often is that data updated as well? And I know I had a couple members also asking, does it come from the local tax office? Where is that data coming from, and how often is it updated?
Yeah, so all of our different data sets gets updated anywhere between 15 minutes to 30 days. And we're purchasing all of our data from several different sources, and we're combining it together and putting it to one platform through Remine.
Awesome. Okay. So someone asked if you could give the demo details again.
Absolutely. So if you email demo@remine.com. We can set that up for you. If you log into the app, if you can access the Remine, if you see the Remine logo on your dashboard, you can log in, you can activate your account. As soon as you activate your account, you can click into the chat box inside of the Remine platform. That chat box is located on the bottom right-hand corner. If you just click on that, you'll see it'll open up and it'll say, "Hi, please chat with us." Just so you all know, you are talking to a live person. We do not route any of our chat to a bot or to some foreign country. Everything is based out of our headquarters here in Fairfax, Virginia. So you're going to talk to a live person, and they can set you up on a Remine demo as soon as right now, right away. So you can email.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I guess one of our members has tried to get a demo, and she was saying that there was not enough. So it sounds like you guys can get a demo done pretty quickly for them.
Yes, we can. And we always do. Maybe she may have had a question about our onboarding. So once you do a demo and once you have gone through the initial demo, we have additional advanced training depending upon how many properties you plan on tracking. And those are from our customer service team, that they're there, from there to answer any questions, and they're going to walk you through the whole entire Remine platform. And just so you all know, our chat support is available from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They're there to answer any and all questions. So please, any question at all, we are there to help at any time. If you have any questions, please just click the chat box and we're there to help out.
Great. I'm sorry, going back to, there were some questions about, again, the data. Bridget, for example, said, it says her home is paid off. So they were just kind of wondering about that. So you said if there is incorrect data, they can report it to you guys?
Absolutely. If you just click into the chat box and let us know.
Okay.
Yep.
And so we already answered that you guys do pull from appraisal districts. Do you also get the social media contact information like Facebook, LinkedIn, and others? I guess they mean of the people that you're tracking.
So if you want to purchase contact information, so remember the track is different. So if you're tracking a property, you're just tracking that property and you're getting notifications on that property. If you want to purchase contact information on a household level, it is $3 per household. And then it will unlock the mobile phone number, social media contact like Facebook, LinkedIn, if they have a public profile. If their profile is not public, it's private, it won't pull that information. Now, if you're on our Pro plan, which is our premium plan, you'll have unlocked contact information. So you'll get all the contact information for everybody, and you can track up to 10,000 properties.
Got you. So Dimitri is asking if you are a platinum member with HAR and you purchase premium with, does that include premium with Remine? And it doesn't. This is part of the standard membership, but the premium with Remine is separate. And somebody is asking also about pricing for the premium features too.
Yeah, if you don't mind just clicking back onto the screen, Christina, and clicking on the plans page, I can go through that with everybody.
Okay. That will actually take a second for us to do. I have to pull it back up for you.
Okay, that's fine. I can just walk you all through it. So basically there's 3 different levels after what's called the starter plan. So the starter plan is covered with your dues, and you can track up to 100 properties, and you have access to all the MLS data and all the other information. Once you're behind that paywall, we've got the Plus plan, which is $29 per month, and you can track up to 250 properties. Once you're behind that paywall, you have access to all of those premium lead generation filters, such as the property value filter, the flood map, the absentee visualization, and the home equity filter. So if you're trying to do a campaign and you want to look for everyone who's owner occupant, and you want to pick up everyone who has a home equity of at least 50K, for example, then you would need to be on the Plus plan or higher to be able to do that. Or if you're a predominantly buyer's agent and you want to go after all buyer leads and you want to just go after tenants, then you would need to be on the Plus plan to visualize that, but you'd have to be on the success plan to see the buyer score. So the Plus plan is 250 tracks. And then the success plan is 500 tracks. And then you'll be able to see the buyer score. And then the pro plan is 10,000 tracks. And you're able to see the distressed deal property filter, and all the contact information is included. So, I typically say if you're a newbie agent, part-time agent, the starter plan is probably best, and just use that, get used to the industry, get your feet wet, track all of your SOI so you can play around with it. For those of you that are full-time and are doing 2 to 5 deals per year, the plus plan makes more sense because you can track up to 250 properties, meaning you probably have a little bit of a database, and you probably have at least one good listing that you could play off of that has a neighborhood of at least 200 homes that you can track. And then if you're a predominantly buyer's agent, the success plan makes the most sense because you have that buy score, and then you can track up to 500. If you're a lead listing agent, or you run a team, or you have more than 6 successful listings to play off of, then the pro plan is, by all means, it makes the most sense because you can track all of those neighborhoods where you've had that successful listing, and each neighborhood, again, probably has anywhere between 500 to 1,000 homes. So you should, if you're a listing agent, then it's a no-brainer to do the pro plan.
Okay, very cool. Just to recap, I know you answered this earlier. Marcia was just asking, with the contact info, does it say if they're not on the do not call list, which you did mention that earlier?
I did mention that. So once you unlock the contact information, if it's on the do not call list, there will be a red flag that says DNC. But we still provide you that information. And the reason being is because, Marcia, if, for example, let's say you sold a home to Mrs. Smith 10 years ago, you have every right to reach out and to contact her. Maybe you choose one of your past clients and you just didn't happen to have her contact information. So you can then purchase it. And for everyone that's listening, I'm sure you guys have gotten the updates, but if you go to the App Store, you can download the Remine app in Google App or Google Play, Google Play for Android. You can download the Remine app, and it is really, really cool because you could literally be going out on listing appointments, and maybe you see a property next door. You can just pull up, on the Remine app, and you can track directly from your app, and you'll be able to get push notifications on the properties you're tracking very soon. So really, really cool. For those of you who have not downloaded the mobile app, definitely do so because it's pretty awesome. You guys are going to love it. Very cool.
And so we'll take what, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And it is free to download.
Okay. So we'll take one more question. Alma's just asking, does the $29 plan have the same features as the Pro?
So the only feature it does not have is that you can't see the distressed deal property filter. So the distressed deal property filter is the one that I was talking about earlier, where you can see all list pendings, notice of default, notice of foreclosure. This is especially popular amongst those agents that are going to get into short sales over the next 12 to 18 months. It does not have that feature, and it does not have the included contact information. So if you wanted to purchase contact information, it would be $3 per household, but it does have all the other features that we were discussing before.
Great. So thank you so much for joining us. And actually, if you're not aware, Arianna will be joining us next week at HAR Engage. She's going to be a speaker at our Engage conference. So any of you that are registered to go to Engage will be able to meet her and speak with her in person and hear her presentation there as well. So we really appreciate you not just joining us this morning, but also next week. That'll be really great for our members.
Thank you, Christina. Very looking forward to it.
Absolutely. All right. Did you have anything else you wanted to share with us before we end today's session?
Other than, really just download the mobile app because you'll get lots of notifications there. It's really intuitive to use, especially because I know all of you guys are on the go, going from listing appointment to buyer's appointment. So downloading the mobile app is great. I look forward to seeing all of you there. There's also one other thing. There's a print feature that I forgot to go over, but it's in the property details page where you can click on print that listing, and it will actually customize it to your name. So you have a nice, very well put together of that print property details page that you can send off to your clients that's branded to you as an agent.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining us again for Member Focus Monday. We'll see you all back next week, same time, same place. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.